What's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode review for Attack on Titan, the final season. Of course, this is the final season part 2. And with me, as always, I have Blue Spade.
Well, we we can already see it's really starting off with a massive bang.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, let's talk about that opening.
Yeah.
Like,
I
don't know what
I watched
band
the
it is.
episode, I saw the, of course, because Japan saw it, it aired in Japan earlier. So I already saw the opening and the ending themes. I will say, like, I did not expect, I did not expect that kind of opening. But it was actually, I am already a fan of the band because I know them from, well, they actually already did the opening for another anime that Mappa also did, which was Rage of Bahamut Genesis, and the band's called Sim or SIM. They also did some music for the Yakuza games. So I already was familiar with them. So I will say I was pretty shocked that they were actually doing an Attack on Titan opening. But I was not disappointed. I was not disappointed.
Yeah, just the overall quality of that opening just was
not
on
only the
another
music
level.
but the animation too. So I was kind of like, when I heard My War for the first time, it kind of took me a while to warm up to it, because at first when I heard it, I didn't really like it, but then the more I heard it, the more I kind of grew on me. This one I pretty much liked immediately, because like the animation's like top tier, and it also syncs really well with the music too. And of course there's tons of spoilers in the opening as well, because, you know, for those who aren't manga readers, those who don't know, we're pretty much about to get into something known as the Rumbling arc, which the opening itself is, of course, just called The Rumbling, so it's already just a massive spoiler. And they're really just not holding back on anything in terms of spoilers. That, you know, the manga readers will recognize them, but of course the anime onlys will maybe be a little bit confused as to what they're seeing. But we do already know about the the Rumbling. So the opening does spoil that the Rumbling is going to happen.
Not just the opening, but also the end credits song is also a bit foreshadowing as well. It's
also, if you notice,
I think
it mirrors the very first ending as well, where Mikasa is running through the fields and with like a knife or something, and then you see Eren running like with a knife in this opening or the ending theme, which is like, I think it was intentionally kind of referencing the first ending.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, for those of us that already know what's gonna happen, what happened in the manga, it's like, I mean, you kind of forget about it at the moment you see these opening and ending themes, because it's just,
I mean,
you can obviously tell that they want to go out with a bang as best that they possibly can. But what I'm worried about, you know, for us that know what happens, is like how it's going to be executed in the show.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I think there's probably going to be some anime original content that'll probably flesh out certain things from the manga. And of course, there's the crazy theories out there that there are multiple timelines, and that there will be an anime original ending. There's that debate going on, you know, and I will say there is some pretty compelling evidence for it, but I can't say anything for certain. And I think there were some clues that people have pointed out that actually make sense, and some of those things we kind of saw in the opening and ending. So I'm not sure if it's really like, if it's just coincidental or if it's trying to imply something. So I guess we'll just have to wait and see, you know, the direction they end up going with this. Another thing I should point out too is that we know that this is going to be a 12 episode. This is going to be a 12 episode season, which a lot of people who are manga readers have pointed out that's not going to be enough to adapt the rest of the story. So there's going to be either another part, either in another season, or there's going to be a movie. That's pretty much, I mean, if they're going to actually faithfully adapt the rest of the story. So yeah, which in and of itself apparently is another clue, but I won't really go into that. That's
yeah, and I have to wonder like how Mappa is really gonna handle this season, because they have multiple different projects that they're still working on at the same time.
That's the thing that concerns me about Mappa, is it feels like they take on way too many projects at once. And I feel they're really overworking themselves sometimes.
the amount of projects that we know that's coming this year is insane. They have Chainsaw Man coming out like supposedly at the end of this year, and then there's another project that I think they're working on. I just can't.
Hell's Paradise.
Hell's Paradise. Yeah, I don't know like how they can pick up or handle that many projects all at once like this. Not to mention working on this show at the same time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but getting back to Attack on Titan, so this episode pretty much picks up like right where we left off at the end of the first part of the final season, except as opposed to going right back to what's going on with Eren, we of course cut to Zeke, what's happening with both Levi and Zeke. I'm not gonna spoil anything for if you're an anime only, but Levi looks really like he should be, at least he should be dead. Like he's in pretty bad shape at this point. Like, cause they're basically they find Levi's body, and Hanj is like observing it. The Jaegerists and Hanj are basically see the aftermath of what happened with the explosion. And this is when like Zeke comes out of the stomach of that Titan that ate him, or swallowed or something. Or actually, no, not ate him, but put him into its stomach, I guess, in the last episode. And he comes right out of it, and he's pretty much complete. Like his body is like completely regenerated. Like he is pretty much back to normal. And he like pretty much like kind of briefly mentions that he he was in this weird place where a mysterious girl had repaired his damaged body, and that's how he's like back to normal now. Which I'm not going to say anything about who this girl is, but I will say she's really important. Not going to say anything else, but you did actually briefly see her in the opening. And also the place where Zeke is in and of itself also important. But yeah, he comes out of it, and Hanj is like, while this is happening, Hanj is holding Levi's body. And Flock asks if he can check for Levi's pulse to confirm if he's actually dead. But basically, like, while Flock and the rest of them are distracted by Zeke, Hanj uses this as an opportunity to get away. So she jumps into the river with Levi's body. And I feel like that kind of should hint some people off that Levi somehow might have come out of that, because if she's not letting Flock check for a pulse.
I mean, they were gonna shoot him anyway, regardless if they wanted to check the pulse or not.
That's true.
But yeah, so now we're back to the Shiganshina, where Eren is pretty much ready to go up against the Marleyan army, and of course Rayna is back and ready to pretty much duke it out with him. It's just mayhem just the entire episode.
Yeah, like, I mean, we also get a lot of conflict between the Marleyan soldiers and the Paradisians. I mean, we did get a lot of blood, a lot of violence in the last season too, but it really feels like they ramped it up in this episode with how many people are just getting brutally killed. Like, all these soldiers just like getting their heads, their limbs blown off and stuff, and we see all these bodies just littered around littered on the streets. It's pretty, and I mean, not to mention also just the Titan fighting as well is also pretty violent. I mean, it has been for the most part, but I mean, I feel like it's really been ramped up here with the amount of blood and gore. And also something else I should mention is that so last season apparently the CG for the Titans was actually outsourced, so another studio I guess technically worked on it, and that's why it looked kind of wonky. People are saying, like, I would say it still kind of looks a little bit wonky, but you can tell it's improved. And apparently that's because the CG in this season was done in-house by MAPPA. So that's why it looks a little bit better, I guess, than it did in the first part of the final season.
Yeah. And I mean, it could change once it gets into once they work on it for a home media release.
I should say the thing I wasn't really, I'm still kind of not sure about is the way they animate because the people with the maneuver gear kind of moving around, the CG for them just doesn't really it didn't look right with the invasion of Marley arc, but it still doesn't look that much better here, honestly. But we don't see it. We kind of briefly see it. But I'm kind of concerned because people who are manga readers are saying the next episode is going to have a lot of movement going on, and that kind of concerns me because I'm worried about how much they're going to abuse the CG and if it's actually going to look good.
I mean, we can already predict how much CG is going to happen with the upcoming rumbling sequence that's going to happen. I mean,
I'm really hoping it will look at least a little bit like it does in the opening, and it won't be kind of night and day in comparison to the way it looks in the actual anime when it happens. I mean, obviously, I think for like a lot of the far away shots and stuff of the Colossal Titans, they're definitely going to use CG. But I would hope for like the close-ups, we're actually going to have some like 2D animation. Because I mean, even in this episode, it does kind of transition between the 2D animation for the Titans and the CG. But I mean, more often than not, it's CG. But yeah, so also not to mention, of course, we see Eren kind of having another rematch with Reiner, as well as the Marley and Paradisians fighting, but also Pieck and basically takes Gabi back to Commander Magath. And so they basically reunite, and they pretty much like figure out what they're going to do about Eren, like how they're going to capture the founding Titan, and also they discuss where Falco is, which we don't see him in this episode, but we hear he's still, of course he's still in that building.
Yeah, and then of course they bring up the fact that not just Falco, but I think they said like 300 other soldiers like drank Zeke's spinal fluid, which will in turn them into a Titan if Zeke suddenly just arrives back in the city and turns them all into Titans.
Yeah, I will say I think the trailer kind of spoiled this because we do see a scene where like we see a lot of Titan transformations happening at once. So I think we can kind of assume what's about to happen, at least in the next episode. But yeah, I think we already know what the fate of those soldiers is probably going to be.
Yeah, and then of course the Pieck and Magath also discuss that both like in order for the rumbling to happen, Eren needs to come into contact with Zeke, and they're gonna try to make sure that that doesn't happen. So we transition back into the battle with Eren and Reiner, and Porco also gets involved in the fight as well. So for the moment, it looked like Reiner and Porco were about to get the upper hand, but of course, don't forget, Eren still has the Warhammer Titan ability.
Yeah, I remember one of the criticisms for people who read the manga was that Eren really doesn't utilize the Warhammer abilities that much, but fortunately he actually does here, which I think was a good idea, which was the spike things that the Warhammer Titan is able to bring out.
Yeah, he pretty much impales both Reiner and Porco, but of course, what happens next is Pieck uses an anti-Titan cannon strapped to her back, and then just pretty much shoots Eren in the head, which temporarily just disables Eren's motor movements because it hit his brain, or the Titan's brain. But of course, it didn't hit where Eren was located.
Yeah. And I think this is when like Reiner uses this as kind of an opportunity to pin Eren against the building. And just like driving this spike thing and like into him, and kind of for the remainder of the episode, that's pretty much what's happening with Eren, is he's just kind of cornered and he's pinned in this position.
Yeah, and then of course we also transitioned back to the imprisoned members of the Survey Corps, and of course Onya Capone comes in and helps release the Survey Corps members. But of course, like some of them don't trust Onya Capone just because he went along with
Yelena.
I forgot her name. Yeah, Yelena.
Yelena.
Yelena's plan.
Yeah.
And well, of course, Onya Capone like did it out of desperation because he didn't want Yelena to shoot him for insubordination. So it took some time for him from to gain their trust. But of course, eventually they reluctantly accept Onya Capone's help to try to stop this whole craziness from going on.
Yeah, I mean, Connie
And
wants to just beat him up. It seems he doesn't trust him, but Armin actually wants to hear him out.
yeah, and of course, there's also the fact that Mikasa is still conflicted of like, on where her loyalties lie, whether she either wants to help Eren or not.
Yeah,
But she's still convinced by the fact that she's like that conversation she had with Eren, like in at the, I would say the last end of the last. I wouldn't say season. It's the end of the last quarter or something. I can't remember how you describe it. But yeah, she's convinced that like she's more or less a slave to to Eren, and she'll do anything like anything possible to protect him at any cost.
Yeah, Mikasa's convinced it's due to her Ackerman blood, and also I guess what the headaches she's been getting also kind of convince her that might be the reason she just follows Eren regardless of what he does. But of course, we also Armin is still kind of willing to give Eren the benefit of the doubt that he has like ultimately like good intentions or something, and he's kind of like trying to convince Connie and John that Eren is still like ultimately good. So yeah, I think there might be another interaction with them and Eren that may sway their opinions one way or the other, I guess, as to if Eren is good or bad.
Yeah, but of course it's hard to tell with all this madness going on outside, and you can never tell what's gonna happen depending on how the battle's gonna end up panning out.
Yeah.
But that's pretty much the entire episode, and of course the ending scene of that episode was Eren's Titan form just screaming out for it cuts to black.
It ended kind of abruptly, yeah. Like it's mostly just Reiner still having Eren pinned in that against that building, and then like Eren just starts screaming, and I don't know, like it ended a little, like I said, a little bit abruptly, and you felt like something was about to happen. And I guess we'll just have to wait until the next episode to see what's exactly going to happen. But I really don't think it's too much of a spoiler to say that Eren doing this may be the trigger for the, I think the transformation for the people who drank the spinal fluid, or something. That's the reason why he's screaming. He basically has some trick up his sleeve. He's not, because it seems like he's just pretty much about to die. But I think we can figure he's still got something he's going to use.
Yeah, but overall, this episode really started off with a massive bang. I mean, the opening credits, the overall, just the overall like craziness of how much was going on in this episode, which was almost really top notch.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and also once we get to the rumbling, it's going to get even crazier, because of course I have spoiled myself. This is some things that are going to happen during that arc. So yeah, I think this was a decent episode. It really just like, I think the highlights obviously were just the new opening and the ending themes we got. It does feel like some things have been improved from the first part of the final season, like the CG for the Titans, I think looks a little bit better. Overall, it does look like there was some slight improvements, like, but other than that, it feels like just a natural continuation of where we left off.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure this the second part of this season is gonna be more action packed than it was in the last season, because the last season was just a lot of talking and exposition throughout the entirety of that season.
The first
some amount of action here and there.
Yeah, like the first part of the final season felt more like it was set up, and then this is just more like delivering on that, especially the rumbling where the Willy Tiber was talking about, and the conversations we had in the flashbacks with Aaron, where they were talking about whether or not they should actually use the rumbling. So it's pretty much just kind of showing us what's gonna pretty much what's gonna happen when the rumbling is actually used. But yeah, I think I think people were saying it was a good idea that Mappa didn't really necessarily go all out with the animation or whatever for the first part of the final season, and it seems like they were kind of saving that for the second half, which in my opinion they should have, because from what I understand there is a lot of action heavy things that are going to happen in this part of the story.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that was for the best.
In terms of this particular part being 12 episodes, I just hope they just don't rush this literally to the end already.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's why people think there's going to be another part after this, be it in a movie form or in a series. But I really think it should be a movie, like a lot of people were suggesting, because that way the animators won't really feel as rushed to put it out, as opposed to if they were working on a series. So I think a movie might be the best way to do it.
I don't know how I feel about it being just a solo movie, because it's required that you would need. I'm not a big fan of most movies following up on a season like that without elaborating on some details. I mean, I can slightly forgive Demon Slayer for doing something similar, but yeah, for Attack on Titan, it's it needs to be finished off in series format rather than doing it as a single movie.
You feel like there'd be too many time constraints if it were a movie?
Yeah, I do feel like that there would be some time constraints.
Yeah,
it just depends on how much content is being adapted into this season and how much content that they would need to adapt of what's left.
Mhm.
Because I can't pinpoint to what parts of the story that they might end up adapting or not.
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure when the exact chapter of the manga where they're planning to end this season on. I think a lot of people have speculated how when they're going to end it, but I can't say for sure. But I would really hope it's not going to be rushed, and that this is not actually going to be technically the end. But it's that we're still going to get another part after this. But I guess we'll just have to wait and see, because it's still too early to tell. And also it'll be interesting to see if there are any significant changes from the source material. I really think this is one of those cases where I would be fine if they change certain things from the manga, whether that's Isayama's whole plan or not. I really think there are some things that either need to be changed or fleshed out a little bit more. There were big problems that were in the manga that people had, not even just talking about the ending, but things that led up to the ending. But
it all depends if there were supposedly going to be changes, maybe some kind of anime original ending from the manga, would fans still be satisfied with it? That's still the real question.
Yeah, I mean, it depends on what route they take. There is, of course, the what is it, the AO Requiem or whatever it was called, theory. A lot of people think that's how the anime original ending is going to go, because there's the band Linked Horizon did some song that was heavily inspired by Attack on Titan and had a lot of things that fans thought were going to be in the original manga ending, but didn't end up be the manga ending. So now a lot of people think that, specifically not just the song but the music video, they think a lot of the stuff in that music video and in that song are going to be how I guess now the anime might end. So there's that theory. So I can't say for sure, of course, but yeah, I don't really have too much else to say about this episode. I thought it was a good continuation from the first part of the final season, and I'm pretty excited to see how they're going to animate the certain events that are about to happen. But I don't know if you have anything else to say about it.
I definitely enjoyed this. It really got me hyped up to finally watch the season again, and not to mention that we'll probably be seeing a lot of some returning characters from previous seasons we haven't seen in a long time. So
Yeah, the opening does kind of
there's
spoil that, doesn't it? I mean, of course, we can't say for sure, but we do in one scene see Annie in what will appear to be in the crystal she was encased in, and then we see her Titan. So yeah, I think we can kind of assume she might come back.
Yeah, I mean, we'll have to wait until next week to find out what's next for with this battle happening in Shiganshina.
Yep. So that all being said, until next time, we will see you all later.